review this then. I've had it for a while, and somebody's pointed out, well, quite a lot of you have actually pointed out, that I've not actually done a review of it yet. It's the Miele T1 Ecospeed TWF760CW 8 kilo green performance tumble dryer. It's a heat pump, and that means that it's super economical, and indeed it really is super economical. Now, I can actually do a proper review of this because I've had this actually running as a daily machine inside the workshop for, well, about 15 months now. These retail right now from £1,000, depending where you buy it from, and they are brilliant. Just go buy one. Yeah, but before we kind of jump ahead, I bought this as a recon. It's a couple of years old. It's not the healthiest, but it does run, and despite it not being its healthiest, the sound of it hasn't got any worse, and it's been fairly moderately used. It's not heavily used, it's about moderately used. It's used around once a day roughly. In terms, it'll be getting used today, for example, depending on what I'm doing during the week, how much washing and filming and stuff like that. Yeah, it can be on once or twice a day, or 3-4 times a week or something like that, but it is heavily used in here in that sense. And I personally love it. How much electricity does it use? Well, I did a full load. Bear in mind, this is rated 8 kilos, so I took a 9 kilo load of towels out of the Miele W1. That's the WMV960 if you want to know what it is, and there's a review of that already on my channel, of course. And that was where, obviously, this led to this being made, because people were saying, what about the dryer? Do a review on that. The load of 9 kilo towels went into here, got put on Cotton's Eco, and it used less than 1 unit electricity to dry the load. In comparison, that's about 4 or 5 times less than the standard conventional condenser tumble dryer. It's worth having. There's of course a couple of other problems though of using a heat pump tumble dryer. The amount of filters that it has and you've got to maintain. So this has a filter down here, for example, that you pull out and you can clean, or you can just basically replace. Now this has a flow sensor within it, and it will come up depending on how heavily this is coated. You'll get an error code eventually, but it's only related to that. You can even go within the settings within the machine and set it to either light, medium, heavy. And that means, of course, that obviously heavy is going to go off a lot later on than on light. But I say it's light because I need to maintain my machines. And to be fair, I wouldn't bother hoovering that out. I'd just replace it. They are so cheap to buy nowadays that a pack of 3, for example, up here is less than 10 quid. Just go on eBay. They're not genuine, but they don't need to be. All they need to do is catch the remnants that bypass the filter before it hits the heat exchanger inside. And of course the heat exchanger in there is completely clean. I also like that as well. It just pulls out, then push back in, and it just clicks in as well. It's brilliant. Then we open the door, of course. If we turn it on, we got a drum light in there. I've just got to kind of keep this door open because it's on a slant. But anyway, if you notice, the door glass is, well, glass. There's no plastic here, of course. We've got a nice big metal latch there. We've also got a couple of stickers. It was actually from J2K, and you've got their code, and then you've got my appliance code on there now as well. Obviously we've got a plastic heat shield, which a lot of people are obviously going to grumble about. To be fair, that kind of flexes a little bit. It's not brilliant. You've got the little yellow icon here to represent the door release. Of course, it's a handle, so it's where you put your hand. But it does remind you to where to put your hand. So this doesn't move, which means that the door is not reversible. For some reason. It should be. Clearly, it should be, really. Since both of these are in the same place. It'll just be a case of a wire, change it round in there, for example. Anyway, we've also got our main filter in here. And we've got two filters, one here, which is quite unusual actually. You've got like a filter screen there and one there. But it's really easy just to empty it. Don't worry about that. And then we've got our secondary filter here. So you've got two filters that are immediately within each other. And to be honest, it's really easy to empty them. Samsung now have a double filter system like this on their latest heat pumps. And it's more complicated. I'd rather this. It's so easy to get rid of the fluff. And then we've got these. So these slide up. And then you can put in you can go on the Miele website and get fragrances, which basically go into there and will be kind of inject scent back into your laundry, which is often lost whilst drying. But you can have different scents, and you've got two, so you can have one or the other. Not that them scents are cheap though. It's Miele. So if you turn it on, we've got our programs listed around here. We've got our Cotton's Eco Standard Dry program. So it runs as normal, but ever so slightly. I've actually used it several times and it's absolutely just about bob on. So you get everything pretty much dry, but you'll kind of get out first and go, this feels damp, but give it literally 5 minutes and you actually go back to it and it is technically dry. That has no options for it whatsoever. Now this is an entire touch screen, but with touch zones basically. But if you notice, normal is lit up. Right, if I go to the next program, which is Cotton's, which you get everything on, you'll notice that normal is now lit in a very bright light, whilst the other options are at a dimmer light. So these mean that you can select these options for the program. If they remain dark, like say these arrows here, for example, it means they're not selectable for the program. Of course, the arrows for here are for the time delay feature. And of course, they aren't going to light up until you hit the time delay. So we got time delay, we hit it there, we got half an hour steps to 10 hours, and then it's an hour step after that to 24 hours. And that's delay start, of course. If we're in it and we don't want it, just press time delay again and it will switch back off. We've got 4 drying sensor settings. To be fair, we've actually got 3. We've got normal dry, which gets clothes completely dry. Extra dry, which will add on a little bit of extra time once we hit normal dry to ensure that hems and multi-layer fabrics are fully cured and fully dry. We've got hygiene dry, which runs the dryer till it gets to 60 degrees and then holds it there for, I think, either 10 to 20 minutes, something like that. And that should ensure around 99% bacteria killed. It does use more energy, of course, using Hygiene Dry. It, for some reason, doubles up on the amount of electricity used than normal. But other than that, it does the job. Then you got Hand Iron, which leaves clothes damp dry, ready for going over with an iron. Dry Care 40, which also turns off extra dry and hygiene dry for specific reasons. You can't have hygiene at 60 degrees, and you can't have extra dry. No idea why. Dry Care 40, the clue's in the name. 40 degrees. It will limit itself to 40 degrees and will not go above 40. This is basically a delicate heat, and you can dry delicates and, well, technically woolens even at this temperature. Not that you really want to, though. But yeah, you can put anything in and it will not shrink it. Simple as that, really. But you can use it on cottons and minimum iron, etc. But on delicates, it's going to be automatically selected. Of course, with Dry Care, you only got choice of hand iron and normal dry. Minimum iron, which is limited to drying a half load, so 4 kilo, still have the Dry Care 40 option available there. But interestingly, we have got Hygiene Dry. Of course, make sure that they are safe enough to dry up to 60 degrees. And we've also got normal and hand iron drying sensor levels. We've got the Delicates program. Dry Care 40 is automatically selected as well as normal. You can't turn it off. You can only have normal or hand iron dryness settings. It's made for drying 2.5 kilos of Delicates fabrics amount with the low dry icon in their wash label, and limits the temperature to no more than 40 degrees. Then you got Woolens Hand Care. It's made for fluffing up 2 kilos of woolen fabrics. Basically, it applies a little bit of heat, and that's about it. The tumbling motion as well obviously helps relieve stresses and fluffs up the wool. Once this is done, take the clothes straight out of the dryer. Bed linen is made for washing a half load or 4 kilo of cotton or minimum iron bed linen. We've got all the drying options available, but there is no Dry Care 40 available. What this does, unlike other cycles, it will periodically actually reverse tumble a lot more frequently to prevent balling. Now, I've used it a couple of times. The first time, it completely went wrong. And I mean, like, how I normally load up tumble dryers with bedding in any normal tumble dryer, it managed to ball up the entire lot. But then, since then, it's not done it once. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. It will dry with a high heat, so it will go past the Dry Care, past 40 degrees if it has to. Then we've got Warm Air / Dry Fresh with Dry Care 40 available. Basically, it dries at high heat, add Dry Care 40, and it limits it to obviously low heat. You can change how many minutes it's going to run for, from 20 minutes all the way up to 2 hours. What Dry Fresh is there for is, along with the pods that go into the fluff filter I showed you earlier, basically if you select a time of 60 minutes or more, along with one of them pods with clothes that are already dry, and select 60 minutes or more, it will inject all that fragrance into them clothes. Proofing only has one setting, normal. It's made for drying and proofing 2.5 kilos of garments that are labelled tumble dryable. Shirts is made for drying 2 kilograms of shirts and polyester blouses, or roughly about 10, roughly. You can either have normal dry or hand iron dry, of course, and you can have dry care 40 on this. And that's basically what it does. It limits the creasing within the shirts. Then you got express, which is shorter, but it isn't. It's made for drying 4 kilograms of cottons, which when you halve 2 hours from the normal cottons isn't an hour 20. Oh, this is basically cottons, but the timings are for half a load. If you put more than half a load in, it's going to take longer. It may time out. Who knows? Obviously, you've got hand iron, normal or extra dry. It won't allow you to have hygiene dry because that's going to take too long, of course. Then you got wash to dry. Now, using the right apps, it basically sets the cycle, the correct drying cycle for the clothes that are being washed. So it has to be connected to your Miele washer for this to work. So, for example, if you're using the shirt cycle, once it's done, it will automatically, if you press start, it will just run the shirt cycle. If you're washing woolens, it will automatically put it on the wool hand care afterwards. Stuff like that. Then we got mobile starts, and it says there app. So basically, there's 2 ways to connect with this. There you go. It's basically now trying to find the app. You've got 10 minutes to set it up, but we don't want it. Anyway, we'll go back. Anyway, you get the app on your phone, you set it up, it finds your app, you connect it all up, jobs are good, and then you can control everything from your phone. I've got to try that out because I've not even done that yet. Worth a try, I think. We've also got our water tank, which actually has water in. Completely different design to the old tanks. This is actually to collect fluff that may have bypassed on the way up to the tank. So we'll load up. That's going to let me. So we're going to select cottons as is, and we're going to hit start in a second. But just before I start, these timings, if it's brand new, these timings will be a lot longer than what it says. Once you have used a certain dryness setting on a certain program, it will learn how long that takes. It will take a running average and work out how long per each cycle it's roughly going to take. So when I hit start, within a couple of minutes it's going to either say less or it may add on more time. So when it's ready to start a cycle, this will be glowing, and when we hit start, all the options will go out and that remains solid. So we've got this perfect dry light flashing away. So during the first few minutes, probably not even that, the tumble dryer is currently trying to detect how much moisture is roughly within the load. So the time's now gone up already, but we've still got perfect dry flashing away. So perfect dry light has now gone out, which means it is now detected the moisture content. This time may go up or down as well throughout this cycle. The really cool thing about this though is that it only uses 320 watts whilst running for the entire cycle, unless it's like hygiene dry, in which case it will go up to 600 watts instead. But that means you could have 10 of these on a normal drying cycle on one extension lead. So the dry is now completed. It will go into anti-crease mode, which you can actually set for how long you want or whether you want it at all, up to 2 hours. Obviously after 2 hours it will automatically then go off and go into complete standby mode. But whilst it's in anti-crease mode, you can either turn it to off first or you can just open the door. When you open the door, it resets the cycle. So it took a lot longer than the stated 1 hour 34. It did actually add on time. It took a lot longer. Not to worry though. Even at 2 hours for this amount of towels, it's really good going. And they are absolutely perfectly dry. Like I said, if you use the Cotton Standard Eco, it basically gets them pretty much near dry like this, but with ever such slight dampness in them. Look at that, done. That is so easy to do. Could possibly get another cycle out of that before we empty it. Of course, we don't need to worry if it does overfill. It will eventually stop and bring up a water container icon there. Also, there's a filter icon there which periodically comes up anyway. But if you get an F66 code and that's lit up, always change the bottom filter there. Right, so I want to give this out of 10 then. Well, remarkably, it's doing pretty well. Despite being Miele dropping, you know, certain aspects of quality here and there, most of the washing machines, the dryers, on the other hand, I think have gone up. Don't get me wrong, like, this is still slightly slower than, well, I'm kind of going, is it though? Because by the time you kind of take into account that it dries 8 kilo in 2 and a bit hours, that's pretty fast. A standard condenser will probably only do it in just 2 hours, so it's only a tiny bit longer to dry the same amount of laundry, but in 4 or 5 times less, you know, energy. And that's what we're looking at here. It is incredibly quiet to run. I do like the quality. They have kept quite a lot of quality in it. I do like the flap down here, for example, which is on a ratchet. Yeah, it's pretty cool. The door, believe it or not, despite having a plastic heat shield, has a proper good clunk when you shut it. The dial, okay, it's a bit cheaper than the older stuff, but it feels nice. And the touch controls are very positive though. So wearing aspects, yes, in comparison to an older Miele, the quality has gone downhill. In comparison to brands, unlike the washers, the dryers have stayed up there. Like, comparison to a Bosch, it is still slightly better than a Bosch. Which is a good thing, of course, because obviously you're paying more money. What would I rate this out of 10 now? Well, it's going to do a lot better than the damn washer. This is going to get 9.5 out of 10. It's not entirely perfect in any way, shape or form. Reliability-wise, nah, it's like their older stuff, to be honest, in degrees. You know, sometimes you had lemons, sometimes you had really, really good, really well-built stuff that was then ragged. I do think these will actually kind of outlast the washers, if that makes sense. If it doesn't run out of gas, of course. And if it does run out of gas, it's probably one of those few machines that are probably worth regassing at some point, since the cost of regassing these will be a lot more cost effective than regassing, say, like a Hoover or a Candy heat pump dryer, which by that point, you know, Hoover and Candy are probably long gone for X about reasons. Yeah. Right, that's my review on it. I actually do love this dryer. I do like using it more than, obviously, I haven't got my Navitronic in place. In comparison to the older Navitronic, yeah, it's just as good, I think. Might as well call it just as good. Okay, there's no door release, but you don't need one on a dryer, unlike the washer. But that being said, I think the door's more positive than the old Navitronic. But then the actual quality of the dial does feel cheaper, so that's what I'm saying. It swings and roundabouts, but quality is already a lot better than other brands. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another review. Again, if you like the video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment down below what you like about the machine, or what you don't like about the machine. Possibly anything I got wrong. I don't think I got anything wrong, but, you know, let me know down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already for more reviews like this and demonstrations. Yeah, I'm in the swing of things now. I actually quite like doing these reviews because you now get to see a machine kind of in full, but kind of condensed down into 40-50 minutes, as opposed to obviously watching a whole length cycle. Don't forget, don't worry if you are missing them kind of full length cycles. They will appear possibly on a different channel at some point in the future. Currently, though, where we stand, I am prioritising wash races. I am prioritising the stuff that obviously gets the views, which is obviously this and the wash races, etc. So, unfortunately, until that happens, I'll have to go, yeah. Things got to change first before I can do that. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you in another video. So, bye for now.